Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
All right, there he is. He's back. Glenn Pearson, author, speaker, discipler. Glenn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. Hope you guys are doing well too.
You forgot pipe player or harmonica.
Harmonica.
Harp.
Come on, Dan.
There's so many different names. So I'm sorry.
I actually forgot all about that. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
I do know one thing. Let me read this email that he sent. You ready?
All right.
Just the one line. I always enjoy your antics on Facebook. You guys are a hoot.
That's true. That's true.
Now, what? Define antics for me.
And define hoot. What exactly is a hoot?
You guys are you're just being yourselves, and hoot is a kind way of saying you guys are nuts.
Okay. We'll take that.
Yeah, and I know you know your scripture is the Greek for hoot, hooteth, or what is it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the King James version.
There you go.
Hootoinia.
Hey, we always love hanging with you. We always get something out of just our connection, just talking. And when I say you're a discipler, you really, really are. And we just talked about, before we went live, Chris and Billy. And you have been meeting with those guys for years and years.
Absolutely.
And if they were
it's such a blessing to be able to, first of all, enter somebody's life. I've told my story to you guys before, having grown up in a toxic environment emotionally and running into other people that have had parallel problems, just being able to connect with them and say, I haven't had the same problems you've had, but I've had parallel stuff and I kind of get how you feel. I think that's just huge. And then being able to point them to, not wallowing in it. That's, the worst thing you want to do is just stick where you are, but helping them get beyond that is just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, if they were here, they would say they're better men because of the fact that you laying down your life for them. And we appreciate that. And, the more we talk to, the more we talk to people, just regular folks, pastors, leaders, whatever, they're all saying the same thing. We need to get back to discipleship, because what's happened is, frankly, we can all show up for a service and we can hear a great message and just, have great music. That doesn't mean we're getting discipled.
Mm-hmm. Right. And see, I don't even call it discipleship, and I'm not even sure it's mentoring. It's just having relationships with people. I guess it's mentoring, it's being in relationships with people, entering their world, just trying to help out however you can, and without any agenda, except, I'm here to do what I can for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, too, this, women seem to do this well, this whole connecting, and they'll talk about stuff, the deep things that they need to talk about, us, not so much. It's not easy for us there's that trust thing. You've got to get past that. Dan and I have known each other for 15 years. And there's things that I can say to Dan, just say, hey, look, this is just some stuff that this is frying my eggs, and I trust him. But it's taken years because we, as men, we have this shield up, this whatever. So thanks for doing that. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about demystifying evangelism.
It's kind of an extension of the same thing. I think, one thing I've noticed about both Christians and non-Christians have one thing in common, and that's that both groups hate evangelism. Because we've turned it into this thing. Evangelism is something you're supposed to do. And I'm not in any way against organized programs or organized presentations or anything. Right. But we make it so difficult that nobody does it.
Right.
So, when I talk about demystifying evangelism, really, I'm a very simple guy in a lot of ways, and I just see 3 steps involved with that. The first one is to be intentional about relationships, not necessarily with the intention of saying, oh, everybody I talk to I have to share Christ with, but just be friendly, be intentional, chat with people that you have regular contact with. Second point is know how to transition the conversation towards a spiritual discussion. And then the third thing is, once you get there, what exactly is your message? And even I can figure that out. That's not too hard to remember those 3 things.
Yeah. That's good.
And I love the first one, the intentionality, because so many of us go through life and we think we have lots of friends and lots of relationships, but a lot of it is, hey man, how you doing? Great. Okay, good. How are you? Which is not necessarily being intentional of stopping, taking the time and really asking the person how they're doing and really wanting to know.
Well, and see, the touch point is often not even that deep. The example I like to use, I go to the gym a lot, and if you're there on a regular basis, you see some of the same people every time, and you see some guys eventually. I walked in the gym a couple of weeks ago, and there's this guy who had this great tattoo down his arm. It had these little dots that got progressively smaller and lighter, and it kind of circled his whole arm. And I walked past the guys on one of the machines, and I said, "Man, that is a great looking tattoo. What is that about?" And it turns out that he and his wife adopted a daughter from Samoa, and apparently that was a tribal symbol of some kind, and he wanted to commemorate that. And then on his other arm, he had a tattoo of the Caribbean islands there. I'm not sure what that was about, but it started a conversation. That's as far as it went. We traded names, and I haven't seen him since, but I may see him later this week if I go in. And after you establish some kind of rapport, at some point you begin to turn the conversation around to the spiritual things.
Yeah,
love that. Glenn Pearson, author, speaker, discipler, relationship guru. I think we should put that on there.
Guru Glenn, the guru Glenn. I like that.
Can I have you tell my wife that I'm a relationship guru?
Well, as I mentioned earlier about you laying down your life, and because you've got to go, okay, well, I'm going to intentionally meet with these guys, and it's not just Billy and Chris. You meet with quite a number of folks.
Yeah.
And so you've got to take time out of hey, you've got kids, you've got grandkids, you've got a wife, you've got a job, I'm sure you have chores around the house.
No, not on the chores. No.
No chores. No chores. Could you come over to my house and do my chores then?
All right,
you have a list. You're just not doing them, or but...
yeah.
But you have to take time out to go, okay, I'm going to go have coffee. Let's say you're having coffee with Chris, or you're having coffee with Billy, and you're going to sit down. It's not going to be a 5-minute deal.
No.
You're going to spend probably a good, 30, 35, 40 minutes, maybe an hour.
Usually it's an hour to an hour and a half by the time we get into stuff.
Not just talking, you're listening.
Absolutely.
And there's always a spiritual component, and no doubt you get to the core of where you're saying, okay, well, this is, right. I feel like this is what God's saying, this is what you need to do or whatever, but that takes time. And I think, some of that too is a little, folks can be afraid of that because that's something we don't have a lot of. How do you do that? How do you carve out all this time?
One correction, I'm basically retired at this point, so I do have a little more time than some people. And I don't say this as a way to put anybody under pressure, or, I realize how busy everybody is, but, they're just, everybody has breakfast, and, it takes a little more time to drive somewhere and meet everybody. But, just seeing that as an important thing. And, I get as much out of it as I think I hope the other guys are getting stuff out of it. But, to me, it's a real highlight to be able to get with somebody and see God work in their lives. And in a sense, this evangelism thing is the same concept, just at an earlier stage where, I'm trying to enter into the lives of some people that, may not have ever seen a Christian who's not a wacko, or putting them under some kind of a legalistic,
Right.
The message is not go to church. That's what everybody thinks. The message is not quit drinking or quit doing these bad things, which, those are all important components, but that's not the touch point.
Yeah.
People respond when they know that you care about them and that you're interested in them. One of the great books of the 20th century was How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
And one of the things he says is never criticize anybody. So when you come at somebody implying that, well, you're a lesser person because you don't go to church, or because I saw you with a cigarette, or whatever, the taboo is, that doesn't draw anybody in.
Right.
So, you got to enter their world is the message.
I read that book. I can't remember how many years ago I read that book. And that's one of the books, honest to God, that really changed my mindset. In fact, I probably need to read it again. John Maxwell, another one, and he was a big Dale Carnegie fan as well. And his was not how to be a friendlier or something. I don't know what it was, but it's just basic, simple relationship, listening to other people. And like you said, don't be negative. And that's another thing with the culture that we're in. I mean, negativity definitely polarizes. There's no unity. There's no life flow. It's all death. And so, I mean, how can you win? You can't. How can people see Jesus in that? They don't.
And the way to solve problems is to not when you're in a confrontational situation or a situation where you're differing with somebody, you don't win them over by start calling them names.
Right.
You know, and that applies on both sides of the political divide, and certainly within the Christian world. People should feel welcomed. You know, it's about Jesus changing our lives. It's about him forgiving our sins, and he did that completely out of love. So why would I approach somebody in a way that appears that I'm condemning them or that, you know, God hates them or something like that? That just makes no sense at all.
Right. We're talking with Glenn Pearson, author, speaker, discipler, and you go to glennpearson.co. There's 2 N's in Glenn because 1 was not enough. You had to have 2.
That's just how special Glenn is.
That's right. I deserve 2.
I have a podcast. Dan and I both have separate podcasts that we have on the website. And I talk about the last podcast. I was in the grocery store and 3 ladies were walking by and they were talking loudly because I heard them. Because at my age, I don't hear so well. So I did hear them. And they were just slamming the current administration and saying that the Ukrainian war was his fault and that. And later on, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe, who knows? Yes, no, maybe it could be. I don't know. But that's, you know, pointing fingers that's not a reach. This is not a reach. This is a reach. And absolutely. So Jesus never pointed political fingers. He said one time, Herod is a fox. That's all he said. That was the only political statement Jesus ever said. Herod is a fox. And so other than that, he lifted people up, ministered to them. And that is a part of discipleship and relationships and what you're talking about. Well, just go ahead.
Good.
No, go ahead, Glenn.
I was going to say that when you get back to the evangelism thing, I look for points of contact with people to just start a conversation. You know, like I said, it could be some guy at the gym has a cool looking tattoo, or you know, a guy has a T-shirt on. Sometimes they're cryptic messages, and I've gone up to somebody and said, "What? I'm trying to figure out what your T-shirt slogan means, or whatever." Or if you live in an apartment complex and you're in the laundry room and you happen to see the same people, you know, every week or so when you're down there, you know, say, I saw you had a dog, or, you know, what a cute dog you had. I saw you walking it the other day. Or, you know, if you're in the, I don't know, the barbershop quartet club or something like that, you see these people on a regular basis, and, you know, having a point of contact and then knowing how to bring up spiritual topics it's a great transition.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to end this, but I'm going to have to run because I've got somebody knocking at my door, coming to bring some stuff for our renovation, which is always fun.
I thought he was going to say Jesus is knocking at his door. Hey,
if he is, then I'm not coming back. So,
hey, Glenn, let's get back with you in a couple of months, shall we? Let's set something. Maybe we get Billy and Chris all together on the show.
I'd love that.
That'd
be a party.
Yeah. Hey, go to glennpearson.co. 2 N's in Glenn. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
It's always good to see you.
This is Faith Talk.